Hey everyone, Felipe here. Welcome to another Tower of Saviors GNN review video. This week we are finally saying goodbye to the Attack on Titan collaboration event, and we are welcoming a new fan-hit original series to the realm. This week we will have two new characters, Carmilla and Nobel, as well as item collecting event and a new Ultimate Lord. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's GNN. Yep, like I said before, we do have two new characters, Carmilla and Nobel, coming next week, and a new item collecting event, a celebration for girls, and a new Ultimate Lord, Promising Words, Serious Prophesier. But yeah, the thing that I'm most interested about is going to be the leader skill, active skills, and team skills of these two characters because they will be the jackpot cards of this patch. So, we do have that from the 27th of February after maintenance. We will get two new Triumphal Trajectory series characters, which will be included in the Era of Novelty Connected drawing machine. These will be Vampire Principessa, Carmilla, as well as Explosion Maniac, Nobel. And presumably, I think because Carmilla is the first one to be announced, she is going to be the big jackpot, and Nobel is going to be the smaller jackpot of the two. But yeah, without further ado, let's take a look at their leader skill and see what they can do. So, Vampire Principessa Carmilla is going to be a water Nibet card and has the following leader skill: Team Attack times 9, Demon HP times 2.2, and Attack times 5 additional. When the current HP is full, damage dealt to enemies by demons will be multiplied by 3 additionally. All attributed runestones also possess 50% effect of all attributed runestones. Art runes also possess 50% effect of attributed runestones, and 5% of demon attack will be converted to HP recovery to the max of 50% HP. Honestly, this leader skill seems pretty good to me. It has really good numbers. Team attack times 9 baseline is pretty high up in the current meta. You might have noticed that the numbers are slowly climbing up, but times 9 is still pretty much above average right now. Not only that, she also gets a times 5 demon attack bonus unconditionally, which is going to increase her damage output even further. She also has an additional times 3 demon attack multiplier if your HP is full. However, this is going to be a little bit challenging to maintain, even though her leader skill does help with that. You do recover HP by the damage you deal, up to 50% of your HP, and this is going to help you maintain that condition of having your HP full. However, keep in mind that Carmilla is going to be a demon card, and her focus is also going to be demon cards, and demons do not have that good of a recovery. And notice how her leader skill does not include any recovery buffs. You only increase your HP and your attack. There's no recovery buffs in there as well. And the runestone possession effect specifically says that the possession effect is of attributed runestones. And normally this does not include heart runes, which means that your recovery will be mostly relying on the 6th effect, which is going to be the demon attack damage will be converted to HP recovery. In most cases, this is going to be enough to maintain you at full HP. However, if you get ambushed and more than half of your HP is gone, that means you will not be able to maintain full HP anymore because you only recover 50% and you will not be at full HP. There's another issue where if you fail to deal damage, this attack damage basically is taking 5% of 1 because your damage did not go through. So if you, for example, mess up breaking an enemy shield and you were not able to hit it at all, or if you're fatigued, if you're fatigued, if you're hypnotized, if you fail electrify runes and you're not able to launch attacks, your HP was not going to go up. And 1, you're going to get killed. 2, your damage output is severely going to be diminished. So that's just some food for thought about that. But if you are able to maintain full HP, her multipliers are going to be insane. A baseline of times 9 with an unconditional times 5 brings you up to times 45 single leader. And if your HP is full, this is going to bring you up to a further 135 times multiplier just for one side of the equation, such as your leader. And depending on your ally, your damage output could be even bigger. I still don't know if Carmilla is mono leader or dual leader and ally. So let's take her team skill and find out. So her condition is going to be the leader is Vampire Principessa Carmilla. The only condition to activate her team skill is going to be to have her as a leader, which means that you can pair her up with other broken demon cards as allies. Specifically, if you did not draw for the new demon black gold card Una, you can use her as an ally, and she has insane damage multipliers as an ally. So running Una as an ally could be a really good thing for you, and give you a lot of utility in her active skill and things like that. But I digress. Let's get back to the topic at hand, which is going to be the team skill for Carmilla. Extend runes of movement time regardlessly by 4 seconds. Vampire Principessa skill cooldown -6 after entering the stage. At the end of each round, recover 50% HP until team HP is full. If no hearts are dissolved in the first batch, damage received -80%. When the current HP is above 70%, active skills of demons will not be lost. By dissolving 6 or more demon runestones, enemies who have received damage from Carmilla will enter an immobilized state and will be inactivated for 1 round. Damage dealt on enemies in immobilized state will be increased by 4 times additional. Demon damage will be dealt regardless of enemy specific damage reducing resistance and combo seal. And I take back everything I said about Carmilla in the past section because she does recover HP regardless of her leader skill. And so, because you are fully recovering, or you're recovering 50% of HP at the end of each round, if you include the 50% HP from her leader skill, that is a full recovery, which means that you can consistently maintain a full HP bar. And in my opinion, that is going to be really powerful and allow you to basically just kill everything. And honestly, her team skill is really good. It doesn't look like the super long paragraphs we're used to for collaboration cards and things like that, but I do think that this team skill is really good. Not only do you get extend the runes of movement time, get over the weakness that I just talked about, which is the HP recovery, you do get a consistent way to fully recover your HP regardless of ambushes and things like that, so that is good. You also have damage reduction, which means that the less damage you take, the less HP recover, the easier it is for you to maintain full HP. When your HP is above 70%, which it should, because you do want to maintain full HP all the time, your active skills of demons will not be locked. And honestly, this is a new inbuilt passive, and it is absolutely amazing because there's certain enemies, certain stages that lock your cards, and you always have to bring an unlocker. The fact that you don't have to bring one frees up a team slot and allows you to bring more utility, more buffers, and this is going to give you more flexibility in building your team. And this is absolutely insane, and it is an amazing passive skill to have if you run her as leader. If you dissolve 6 or more demon runes, you also inflict an immobilized state on enemies, which they will be inactivated for 1 round. And you don't need me to tell you that that's good, because inactivating an enemy for 1 round allows you to live longer and also gives you more time to kill it, all for CD and things like that, which is obviously pretty good. But if the enemy is immobilized, you also deal 4 times more damage to them, which is also an incredible amount of damage, or an incredible increase in damage, And this is going to be for your entire team. And not only like 8 times 4 Kurapika was already good. Imagine 8 times 4 for your entire team. This is pretty good. The only downside is that you will not be able to inflict this state on uncontrollable enemies, but for the most part, you should be able to benefit from this immobilized state. You also deal damage regardless of combo seal and enemy specific damage reducing resistance. And honestly, combo seal is whatever, but enemy specific damage reducing resistance is such a good thing to have as a passive. Not only are there very few cards in the game that can ignore it, now you have it inbuilt in your passive. So that is amazing. Granted, some of the few cards that have this shield break, quote unquote, are demons. So you could have brought them in this team to break that specific shield. But in my opinion, being able to just have it as a passive is super good. And yes, demon damage, but the way Carmilla is built, you do want to run a mono demon team on her for sure. But yeah, so overall as a leader, I do think Carmilla is going to be an amazing leader, and she does have a lot going on for her. You have a big multiplier. You also have runes to possession effect. You have access to the entire demon roster, which is pretty big since gods and demons are the most popular races in the game, and humans too. So, but demons have an insane amount of support and different utility cards, so you have access to that. You have a bunch of utility inbuilt into her kit. The only thing that's missing is shield breaking, for example, initial puzzle shield and things like that. But given the passives that you should have plenty of team slots to put in the cards that you need to clear certain stages. So yeah, she's a pretty good leader. Definitely worth considering getting, but I would also wait for news about the collaboration event that they announced at TGS, because that is also coming up soon. But yeah, for her active skill, we have a CD6 active skill, fully recover HP, turn the first and second columns into water demon runes and heart demon runes, both enchanted. Tap one column to lock the corresponding member's active skill for 3 rounds. For 3 rounds, that attack's basic value will be lowered to 0, but you will add 2 times the deducted attack to the other members. This basically means that you do get a pretty big damage boost depending on which monster you lock. Honestly, I do think this is a pretty good active skill for a Carmilla team. The fully recovering HP, typically for me, is very situational and not that useful because it doesn't do much. But however, on a Carmilla team, this becomes essential because after an ambush that, for example, brings your HP to 1, you can use the active skill to bring yourself to full and benefit from your ×3 full HP damage attack bonus. So, pretty good effect. You also generate attacking runes, which is also pretty good, and you also generate demon runes, which is very important because it does help trigger your team skill. So that is also very good for her as well. For the 3rd to 4th effect, that is also a nice gimmick to have. You do lock the attack of one member. However, that attack basic value will be added 2 times to every single other member, which means that overall you are getting a pretty insane damage increase. So this is going to be really good as well. So CD6 is also very short for a skill like this, and in my opinion, it is going to be very useful for her to have. And not only that, this skill is available from the get-go because she does have a skill cooldown -6 after entering the stage, just for being a leader. So honestly, this is a very well designed active skill and honestly not bad. That being said, I don't see it being very useful in other teams outside of Carmilla, because the most the thing that you would benefit the most out of is going to be FX 3 to 5. Since the fully recovering HP, yes, it's nice, but it doesn't provide any additional damage. And depending on the team, you might not need Enchanted Water or Enchanted Heart runes, so it is going to be less flexible for her. However, this third to fourth effect might still be usable by other teams, but I do think that in terms of buffers, there's other better cards, so maybe you could use other cards instead of Carmilla. But I do think her active skill is amazing for her, very well tailored to her, but a little bit less future proofed in terms of flexibility for future teams. But yeah, not a bad card, definitely not a bad card. Bonding skills, typical things, typical stuff, so not much to talk about there. But yeah, so next we do have the other new character, which is going to be Explosion Maniac Nobel. He is going to be an Earth Machina card, which we haven't had a Matter original Machina card come out recently. Not counting Nova H because that's just a retrain of collaboration cards. But yeah, I don't remember having a Jackpot Machina card recently. No, actually I'm wrong. There has been one recently. But yeah, I digress. He is an Earth Machina card and has the following leader skill. When the team has only Machinas, team attack increases by 9 times, HP and recovery by 1.5. By dissolving 3 or more types of runestones, team attack increases by 4 times additionally, and damage will be reduced by 50% unconditional. This leader skill is definitely way shorter than Carmilla's, which shows you that he is just a little jackpot. But honestly, his leader skill is not bad, but it's also not good. You do have a good attack multiplier at base of times 9 and a very easy condition to achieve an additional times 4. However, this is just going to bring you all the way up to times 36, which is going to be pretty low in terms of jackpot card numbers. This is without seeing his skill, of course, but yeah, his leader skill seems pretty simple in terms of that you only gain damage and 50% damage reduction, and not that much of a gimmick. So we are going to have to see his skill to see if there's anything good for him. Ooh, he does have a lot of text for his team skill. But yeah, for the condition for his team skill, the leader is Nobel with only Machinas in the team, which you should, because his leader skill only triggers when you have Machinas in. And yeah, so extend runestone movement time by 3 seconds regardless. Oh, actually not regardless, just extend runestone movement time by 3 seconds. All runestones possess the effect of runestones of the Machina's attribute in the team. The more types of runestones dissolved, the higher the team attack to the max of times 9 for 6 types. Each time when a runestone is exploded by the team, you deal a non-attributive damage of 5,000 times the leader's attack to all enemies regardless of defense and enchanted runestone shield. By dissolving all present runestones of one type in the first batch, explode that type of runestones after dissolving runestones to generate enchanted runes. Damage will be dealt regardless of anti-runestone shield first batch. Also, you have a passive where if the leader is Nobel with only Machinas in the team, Nobel has an increased basic attack value of 1,500. You also have Machina dynamics, which at this point everyone should be used to what that means. But yeah, going back to his team skill, couple things. I do think that he is going to have good damage based on the times 9 damage bonus here. That being said, this is going to be a little bit finicky because you have to dissolve all 6 type of runestones for this to happen. And sometimes you might not have all the runes on the board. Sometimes there is sometimes there's an enemy skill that doesn't let you dissolve all the runes. So it's a little bit of a bummer that it's tied to this condition, but times 9 is an amazing multiplier and will definitely bring his damage up to what it needs to be. However, because it is a little bit finicky, it might not be super consistent, and not sure if he's going to be a good leader. Overall, I do think Nobel doesn't strike me as a very powerful leader, so I'm hoping that his active skill is going to be amazing. Because, yeah, you do get extended runestone movement time, you get runestone possession effect, pretty good. You get a times 9 potential attack increase, but everything else is just weird, where if you dissolve all present runes of one type, you will explode that type of runestones after dissolving runestones. And this sounds fun, but it doesn't really do much other than help you with the previous team skill here, where you will deal a non-attributive damage of 5,000 times Nobel's attack, which also increases by 1,500. But you've been following my channel recently, you know that snipers aren't that good in the game, just because enemy HPs are so big that no matter how much sniper damage you're dealing, it's not gonna be enough, because you hardly kill anyone with a sniper damage. 5,000 times is a lot, but when you're dealing with enemies that have 1 or 2 billion HP, that becomes a little bit less useful. But that being said, this is a passive that triggers every time a runestone is exploded. So if you do things that are like Roy Mustang, where he explodes 3 times separately, you're dealing 3 sniper damage. So who knows? It might have some use, but you don't gain much out of it. So I don't think that this is going to be that great of a leader. You do ignore anti-runestone shield first batch, but everything else doesn't really strike me like a good leader. Really. In terms of gimmicks, it's also doesn't seem that fun to play either. But yeah. So in terms of leader, I do think he's a little bit under par, especially for a jackpot card. So let's take a look at his active skill to see if he is redeemed or not. Okay, for his active skill, we have a CD6 active skill and has the following effect. Explode the first to 6 columns in ascending order. So basically, you're exploding 5 times, which means that you're going to be dealing 5 sniper damage, which is actually pretty good. For 2 rounds, and generate 5 enchanted machina runes of every single type, which also helps you with your team skill to achieve that times 9 multiplier, because now you have all 6 types on the board. For 2 rounds, runestone movement will not be stopped, and damage can be dealt if you touch a laser trap. Black holes are nullified, and your attack basic value for machinas increases by 1,000. Actually not a bad team skill, actually. You do explode everything, which helps with getting rid of board debuffs, and you do generate all 6 types of attributes, and you have CD6, which is pretty fast. So overall, I do think this active skill is pretty usable. It's not terrible. It has some uses, but outside of a Nobel team, I think he is going to be a pretty good member, because of the explosion, the crystal generation, but most importantly, you do ignore laser traps and black holes, and you also increase machina attack basic value. But laser trap and black hole are the more important ones, because there aren't that many cards that can help you ignore those. Yes, it is going to be situational that they appear, but if it does, you will be really glad you do have this card in your inventory. So overall, I think is a subpar leader, and I think that his active skill is just a tiny little bit above average. So in terms of resources and diamonds, I'd say don't go for him. He will come eventually, and might as well save for the up and coming collaboration event that's coming up, the one that was announced at TPS. But yeah, bonding skill, and we have a item collection event. So if this is your first item collection event, the way it works is that for every point of stamina you use, you get one item from the event. So for example, if you enter a 40 stage bi-weekly 40 stamina bi-weekly stage, you will be getting 40 event points of whatever these ones are. So we are getting well, we're getting some like rice cracker or something like that. But and then when you gather these items, you can then enter the shop and use them to redeem special prizes, character medals, and things like that. So, pretty cool event, and we are going to have um, okay, so yeah, February 27th, Blessing for Girls, and the new character is going to be Ina Celebration Kyoko, which kinda oddly looks like a chibi version of Himiko, but you know, I might be imagining things. But her active skill, she is going to be a Dark God and has a CD6 active skill that has a giant paragraph. That okay, let's get to it. So, in a celebration Kyoko, Wrathful Gales Shinatsuhiko, and Thundering Taiko Haruka will release their lock skill and clear their hypnotized state. The skill can be activated regardless of locks and hypnosis. Wrathful Gale Shinatsuhiko and Thundering Taiko Haruka will have their skill cooldown reduced by 5. Modify all runestones to become God runes. By dissolving 5 or more God runes, damage will be dealt regardless of puzzle shield and initial shield for gods. If Wrathful Gale Shinatsuhiko and or Thundering Taiko Haruka is in a hyper state upon skill activation, combo count increases by 10. So, wait, where do you get Shinatsuhiko and Haruka? Do you also get them from the item collection event? Let's see. I skipped over this, but yeah, so there will be an item collecting 2 new characters. Shinatsuhiko and Thundering Taiko Haruka will make their debut in the realms along with Kyoko, bringing a series of missions including challenge stages, guild mission, transmigration, quiz mission, and Asian Wars. Ooh, so that's actually going to be a lot of events. Interesting. But yeah, so this card is specifically designed to help out with or synergize with Shinatsuhiko and Haruka, but I do think that she might see some usage depending on the stages because you do generate god runes and you also have the utility to break puzzle shield and initial shield for all the gods in the team, and that is going to be super powerful depending on the team you're running. Granted, there's a lot of cards that can do that already, so there's no specific need to get Kyoko, but typically cards like these are pretty free since you can just exchange them from the shop, and as long as you play the game you can collect items and things like that. Or you do have a team skill with the other two, and this is just going to be a skill reduction and a stat boost, so nothing too broken. We do get a new god exclusive dragonware, which is going to be the Hina god. And honestly, it's not a bad Dragon Wear specifically because you do get a minus school skill cooldown when entering the stage. So this is already making it pretty worth it because -2 after entering the stage is really powerful nowadays. Oh, okay, there we go. We do get Shinatsuhiko and Haruka from a new challenge stage that will also be opening on Monday 27th. Uh, for Shinatsuhiko, this is going to be a Earth God with a CD6 skill. Thundering Taiko Haruka will enter a hyper state. Remove Tornado, and after successful removal, the character skill will be reduced by 4. Explore Weather Runestones to generate Enchanted God Runes, and for 1 round, God Attack and Recovery increases by 1.8. Needless to say, this is just going to be the folk story of Fujina Raijin from Japanese mythology. Um, Shinatsuhiko being Jin and Thundering Taiko Haruka being Raijin. So this makes sense that the god of wind will remove the tornadoes for you, which I think is pretty cool. And being able to make Haruka entering hyper state not only increases your damage, but it is also going to give you a plus 10 combo if you also activate Hyoko's active skill. So this means it's going to synergize really well with Natsuhiko as well. In terms of running him by himself, I don't think he's going to be that good unless you run him alongside Kyoko and Haruka, because the active skill is just very replaceable if you don't have the other two in the team. So I do think there's other many cards that can do this without having to rely on having Haruka or Kyoko in your team. So yes, he's nice. CD6 is pretty fast, but I mean, it's a challenge stage, so it's a free-to-play card, so I'd still recommend getting it since he's pretty good. He does get rid of Tornado and also gives you an attack boost, so that's pretty good. In terms of Thundering Taiko Haruka, she's going to be a Light God, the equivalent of Raijin, CD6 with the following effects. It makes Hinatsuhiko enter a hyper state, remove Laser Trap, and after successful removal, skill cooldown -4. Explode Electrify runes, generate Enchanted God runes, and for 1 round, God attack and recovery increases by 1.8 times. So basically, all the good points that I said about Shinatsuhiko also apply here, where it does give Shinatsuhiko more attack, but it also allows you to activate Kyoka's skill and benefit from a plus 10 combo there. I do believe that this is going to be a little bit more useful because Laser Trap typically doesn't get removed, and this is, if I remember correctly, this might be the first time or one of the few cards that can fully remove Laser Trap. We do have cards that allow you to ignore the Laser Trap, but there's not that many cards that can help you remove the Laser Trap. I mean, doesn't really make that much of a difference, but that's pretty special for her. You also explode Electrify runes, which, now that I think of it, exploding Electrified and Weather runes are basically the same thing. They both stop your movement, except I think exploding Electrify runes is better, because if you leave a Weather rune in the board, nothing happens. But if you leave an Electrify rune on the board, your attack is nullified. So in my opinion, it is better to get rid of all Electrify runes, which in turn makes Haruka have the better skill, but only slightly. They both basically do the same thing. And they're both free-to-play cards, so definitely get one and have it in your inventory just in case. Whew, okay, now we're going to the last item, I believe, which is going to be the Ultimate Stitch, the Professor of Flowers. And this is going to be a Water Elf card. This is going to be Serious Professor and has a CD7 skill with the following effect. Death damage will be nullified, which is very good because not that many cards can do that. Modify, and I believe this might be the first elf or one of the few elf cards that can do it. Modify all runestones to become elf runes. And for 1 round, dodge the first attack of each enemy, and receive no damage when touching an explosive bomb. Honestly, this is a really good specific counter card, uh, dealing with death damage and explosive bombs. At CD7, that is going to be really good. I do think her active skill is going to be pretty useful, albeit a little bit situational. The damage and explosive bomb doesn't really show up that often, um, but if it does, this is a really good card to have. And not only that, I still believe it is also a good card because it helps you dodge the first attack of each enemy, and I believe there's not that many elf cards that can help you do that. There's some damage reduction, controlling skills, but dodging is a little bit more rare among elves. So I do believe it is very good for you to get one copy of this and bring it to dual map. But yeah. Ooh, we have more, which is going to be the TOS Battle Pass. We do have a new Genie skin, but this time it is going to be a Dark Elf card, CD7 skill. For 3 rounds, damage will be dealt regardless of defense. All runestones also possess the effect of all runestones, and upon skill activation and at the end of each round, turn all runestones into art runes and enchanted runes attributes. Honestly, for a Battle Pass card, I think it's a little bit weak. CD7 is way too long to just break defense, break enemy's defense. Runestone Possession, which most leaders nowadays already have their own Runestone Possession effects. And the conversion seems a little bit weak because it does limit you to whatever members you have. And you might benefit better from bringing a card that has a more consistent conversion that you can benefit. So, free card, yay, but also not that great of a card. And we do have another Dragonware, which is going to be on the paid side. Dark Elves only, skill cooldown -2, not bad, but given the fact that it is behind a paywall, I don't think it's that worth it because the one that you get from completing the story stages also gives you -2 for elves, and it is elves period, no attribute restriction. This one is just dark elves only, which makes it a little bit more limited, or restrictive. That's the word I'm looking for. More restrictive in terms of who to give it to, because all the good dark elves already kind of have their go-to Dragonware, for example Daji. So not that great, but also it's behind a paywall, so personally I wouldn't go for it. But yeah, and then monthly challenge March, because we're at the end of February, so we are going to have a new challenge. But yeah, that is the end of this week's GNN. So just to recap, we are getting 2 new characters, Vampire Principessa Carmilla and Explosion Maniac Nobel. In my opinion, Carmilla is going to be a very good leader and has a pretty good active skill that synergizes with her leader skill. However, outside of a Carmilla team, her active skill will be a little bit on the more replaceable side, but I do still believe that her leader potential and her playstyle are going to be pretty fun. On the other hand, Nobel seems to be... Rarely do I say that a card is not that great and pretty bad. Nobel in this case is going to be a pretty lackluster card in my opinion. His attack multiplier, leader skill, and team skill leaves something to be desired. And his active skill, while it is very nice, it is also very situational sometimes, and also replaceable as well. It does synergize a lot with his playstyle, but again, his playstyle seems a little bit lackluster. In terms of saving resources or pulling for these cards, I would recommend against it, because we did have an announcement during the Taiwan game show that there will be a new collaboration coming up soon with Hikaru Nobu. And I will say, wait until those news come out to to see what these new cards are offering before you spend diamonds on these cards. Because while Carmilla is good, Nobel is not that great. But all other cards in the era of Novelty Steel are also not that great. So I would personally prefer to pull on the collaboration event where every card, even the non-jackpot cards, are new and they might have better uses as well. But yeah, now moving on, we do have a item collecting event, which pretty fun, a pretty cool way to get free resources and cards. Have Hina Celebration Kyoko, as well as Wrathful Gales Sugiko and Thundering Taiko Haruka, which, in my opinion, will shine the brightest if you build them in the same team. But given that they should go all together, this is going to make your team building a little bit more restrictive, and this is just going to be a more fun team and less of a meta team. In terms of their skills, it does reflect that, where it does seem a little bit like a more meme, more fun type of team because of all the restrictions in team building that this will give you. Their active skills outside of building them, all three of them together, will be very replaceable, and there's other god cards that can do what they do with better buffs, more utility, and in terms of a new ultimate stage, we have a new water elf, promising words series prophecy, which arguably one of the more unique elf active skills, which is going to be ignoring death damage and explosive bombs, as well as dodging the attacks of the enemies. In my opinion, this is a very, very good active skill and definitely worth getting at least one copy dual max inventory. For the battle pass, you have a volatile spin genie, which is going to be a dark elf retrain of the original genie, but CD7 active skill with very lackluster effects. Doesn't really is not that strong in my opinion, and very replaceable as well, especially with the pool of elves that we have currently. We do have a new dragon wear behind a paywall. While it is good that it gives you a -2 skill cooldown on entry, I do think it is not worth paying for the battle pass if you want dragon. And last but not least, we have a monthly challenge for the month of March. So be sure to challenge it and get those free rewards from the monthly challenges. But yeah, that's going to be all from me. I hope that you enjoyed this installment of GNN Review, and as always, let me know in the comments if I said anything wrong or if I missed on anything. Make sure to check my YouTube channel. I've been posting a little bit more, and I do post more Power Saviors content, guides, reviews. So make sure you check that out. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.